Hey everyone, thank you for watching. Today's video, we are finally going to be doing my high-end eyeshadow palette declutter. Last month I posted my affordable palette declutter. I will have it linked down below as well as my declutter playlist. And I said that the high-end would be coming soon. And I've been getting so many comments about it. This is what we are doing today. So this is a look at all of my high-end eyeshadow palettes. I'm gonna be going through them, deciding which ones I'm gonna keep and which ones I'm going to declutter. So why don't we go ahead and get started. So before we jump into the palettes, a few things that I like to say before my declutters. First of all, if I have a palette that I'm still trying out, I'm still testing to review, you typically do not see those in my declutter videos because I know that I'm going to be keeping them. I haven't even had the chance to review them yet on my channel. So there might be some palettes that you see that you don't see in here and you think I have those palettes. That is why, because I would of course just be keeping them anyways, and we have enough palettes to get through in this video. The second thing is with my decluttered makeup, you know, that's always a question that comes up in these videos. If it is something that I purchased myself that I decide not to keep and it is still in good condition, I might put it on my Poshmark. I might just give it away to a friend or family member, you know, things like that. So that is what I do. If it is something that was sent to me in PR, I don't sell my PR, so that just gets passed along to someone else. So that's kind of what happens with my makeup. If something is super old or, you know, expired or almost gone or something like that, then I'll throw it away. But other than that, I do not throw my makeup away. And I would also like to make a request to not ask me to send makeup. A lot of times in my last handful of declutters here, it's almost, I don't want to say it's been the majority of the comments, but there's been a lot of comments like that. I do a lot of giveaways on my channel. I've been doing a giveaway nearly every other day in the month of December. I send out a lot of packages to a lot of people. So it's just kind of one of those weird things that I don't know how to respond to a comment like that, and it's just kind of uncomfortable. But I would just like to throw out that request for this video. But okay, let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so I'm gonna start down here in this corner. I have some Sigma palettes down here. I am filming in my bedroom again. I filmed my affordable palette declutter in my bedroom and people said the lighting seemed good, so we're doing the same thing today. So hopefully it's all right. But starting with Sigma, this is the Warm and Neutrals Volume 2 eyeshadow palette. I really like this eyeshadow palette. I featured it in a video I did a couple months back, my favorite neutral eyeshadow palettes, and this one was in there. I think this is really nice quality. I like the mirror on it. I like the shades. I am going to go ahead and keep this one. Next up, I have the Wildflower palette from Sigma. I feel like I've mentioned this quite a bit on my channel. I really do like the shades in there, and I like that you get a blush and a highlight as well, and you do also have a mirror. This is one of those palettes that I can reach into it and I just know exactly what I'm doing. I love that I can get my eyeshadows done, and I have two face products as well, so I actually still really enjoy this palette, so I'm going to go ahead and hold on to this one. I have been trying to be a little bit more, you know, ruthless in my declutters, especially because at the time that I'm filming this, in just 2 days, we're having the realtor come look at our house. We've been in the process of trying to move because of my husband's new job, and we have to put our house on the market. And so I feel like the last couple of times it's been easier for me to say goodbye to makeup because I don't want to have to move so many hours away and take things that I don't really want in my collection. So I'm gonna try. I mean, we're 2-0 for right now, so I mean, let's just see here. But next up from Sigma, we have the Creme de Couture eyeshadow palette. This was their holiday release, I believe 2 years ago, I think it was. So we have a very pastel palette in here, and I've been hanging on to this one and hanging on to this one, but I think I am going to go ahead and declutter it now. I haven't been reaching into it as much as I used to when I first got it, and I really did like it for a while, but I'm just not reaching into it as much anymore. So I think that I can safely go ahead and put that one in the declutter pile. And then also from Sigma, I have the Viper palette. This is a new release from Sigma. I reviewed it recently. I believe I put it in my Makeup Monthly, and I just didn't love it. The color scheme is just not for me. The actual eyeshadows in here I think are really nice quality, but it's not a palette that I'm going to reach into a lot for myself based on my makeup preferences. So I'm also going to go ahead and put that one in the pass pile. I have some palettes here from Viseart. Okay, so I have two of their 12 pan eyeshadow palettes, and let me think. One thing that I'll say about Viseart, these are $80 palettes. This one is the neutral matte palette, and I like it, but I don't necessarily love it, and I don't know if I don't think that I would recommend these for $80. That's just so high to me. That being said, I don't feel like I need to keep both of them, but I do want to keep one of them. I think I would reach into this palette more And I do like the color scheme in this palette. This one was actually sent to me from Viseart. This one was a gift. And I think I'm going to go ahead and keep this one because I would just go into this palette more. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this one, which is the Warm Mattes palette. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this one in my pass pile. And then I have two little palettes here as well. So we have the Petit Pro. So it looks like this. Again, this one was a gift to me. This was my first Viseart palette that I did try, and I didn't love it. And that was my first experience with Viseart, and I was kind of like, oh boy, okay. So I didn't enjoy this one the most, so I'm going to go ahead and put that one in my pass pile as well. And then this one is the Theory palette, the Theory Nuance. I got this one in my Beautylish bag that I got last year, the Beautylish Lucky Bag. And again, I was really excited when I saw this. I thought it was really cool that I was getting a Viseart palette in that bag, but I just do not reach for this. I don't think the shades are super fantastic, amazing quality, and I just don't reach into it a lot. So I'm also gonna go ahead and put that one in the pass pile. Okay, so I have a palette here from Alamar Cosmetics. I wanted to check, I checked my affordable palette declutter because I couldn't remember where I decided to place this one, but I didn't see it in there, so I thought I would put it in this video. So this is the first eyeshadow palette from Alamar Cosmetics. I believe this is like $24 or $28. So I don't know, it's kind of like middle of the road there. I probably could have put it in either video. But you have the 8 shades in here. Alamar Cosmetics is a new brand. I mentioned them in my last Will I Buy It video because they are coming out with their second eyeshadow palette. And I said really good things about this palette. I like the quality in here. I like the colors in here. So I'm going to go ahead and hang on to this one because I do quite like it. I have a palette here from NARS. This is the Narcissist, oh, which one was this? The Wanted palette. This one came out, I believe it was last year. Okay, so NARS palettes can tend to be a little bit hit or miss for me. This one I do like, but I don't feel like I totally need it anymore. And I just got the Ignited palette from NARS, and I actually like that one a lot more. It has some more of those purple tones in it. And again, I liked this palette, but I think that I can find someone who's going to like it a lot and get a lot more use out of it than me. So I'm happy that I got to try it and happy that I got to play with it. But for me right now, I'm just really feeling on the Ignited palette at the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and put that one in the pass pile. I have one from Too Faced. This is the Sweet Peach palette. I've had this palette for a lot of years. Your girl was standing outside of Ulta before it opened to try to get the peach palette. Do you remember the craziness? Because that was pretty wild. And I still really do like this palette. I wouldn't say I reach for it as much, just with obviously, you know, having a larger collection now. I'm not reaching for it as much, but it's still such a nice, just kind of staple palette for me. And I just don't want to get it out of my collection yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to that one. I think this is actually my only Too Faced palette. I do have the Pretty Rich palette, but I'm still trying that out. So like I said, you won't be seeing it in here. Okay, I have these palettes here from Dose of Colors. So I have 3 of the 5-pan palettes from Dose of Colors. Marvelous Mauves was my first one, and then I also have Sassy Siennas and Baked Browns. I love my Marvelous Mauves. I have talked about this palette so many times on my channel. I've raved about it. This is, you know, probably my most traveled with palette. It's so easy to pop into a bag. I love the colors on here. This is just one of my favorite palettes. I'm obviously keeping that one. The Sassy Siennas is also really beautiful. We have more of the orange tones, the browns in here, and again, I just really like the formula of the Dose of Color palettes. You get more kick up, like they're pretty powdery eyeshadows, and I know that kind of like freaks people out right away, but I don't get a lot of fallout on the eyes, and I think that they're easy to blend, and a little bit goes a long way, so I really enjoy these. And then we also have the Baked Browns, which is obviously such a me palette, just a nice neutral, you know, 5-pan palette. I think it's fantastic. So definitely going to be keeping that from Dose of Colors. I also have the Friendcation palette. This is the new palette from the Katie and Desi collaboration. I have been raving about this eyeshadow palette. I've been recommending it everywhere, and I enjoy this palette so much. I'm definitely going to be keeping this one. And then from Dose of Colors, I have the 4-pan palette. That was the collab with Katie and Desi last year. This is the girls palette, so you have your 4 shades in here. I did not enjoy this palette. I actually put it in my disappointing makeup of 2018 because it's just really hard to use, and I just could not get on with this one, and I was super bummed about it. So I kind of took a risk there buying the Friendcation palette, which I'm glad I did, but I am going to go ahead and declutter this out of my collection now that I have Friendcation. Alrighty, so I have some palettes here from Huda Beauty. I've talked about the Huda Beauty Obsessions palettes on my channel quite a bit, and clearly I really enjoy these palettes. So the first one, I think this, which one was the first one? I think maybe Mauve Obsessions was at least one of the first ones that I got. I love Mauve Obsessions so much. So with these palettes, that you get the 9 shades, you get a mirror in there. I like that they have different color stories. I think that's awesome, and I love mauve tones so much. So of course, keeping this one, we probably shouldn't be too surprised. We have Warm Brown Obsessions. This palette is just gorgeous. I think that it is beautiful. Definitely going to be keeping this one, obviously. Then we have Smokey Obsessions, and really sad about Smokey Obsessions. One of my shades actually started to break, and I think it's because, I mean, look at this palette. This is a dirty palette, okay? I don't often get really dirty looking palettes going on, but this palette has been very loved on by me. It came with me to New York, I believe it was. Yeah, this palette is just, again, just a staple palette for me. I enjoy it so much. Definitely holding on to that one. Some of my newer ones, I have the Coral Obsessions. Now, I do like this palette. I won't say it's my favorite. I think the 3 that I just mentioned, those are my favorite, but I do still like this one. And again, I just really like these palettes, so I'm keeping that one. My latest one that I picked up is the Emerald Obsessions, and as I was pulling out these palettes to do this, you know, declutter and get everything set up, I came across this one and I was like, what am I gonna do? Because I reviewed it recently and I said that I just liked it. I didn't love it as much as I have been loving the other Huda palettes, and I was kind of bummed about that. Not all the shades performed the way I thought they would, but it is, you know, a pretty green palette, which I don't have a lot like this in my collection, and I did still like it, and it is a newer palette to me still. So I think I'm not ready to get rid of this one. Out of all of them, this was the one that I kind of considered, but I still just would prefer to keep it in my collection. So I'm going to. Okay. Alrighty, so next up, let's see. I have some Pure palettes to talk about. So let's get Pure going on here. Alright, so this is the Pure Trolls palette. I have talked about the Trolls palette so often on my channel. I enjoyed this palette so much, and I was so surprised by it. I don't know why I was not expecting to love this palette, but once I started trying out the shades, I just thought it was so beautiful. This was when the Trolls movie was coming out, so I really don't know if this palette is still available. I know it went out of stock and it came back, and then you could still find it at Kohl's and all these different things, but I thought this was such a nice palette, and honestly, I still just want to keep it in my collection. Then we have the Pure Etienne eyeshadow palette. So this is a pretty large eyeshadow palette. You have a mixture in there. I mean, it's a pretty neutral palette, but you do have some pretty dark shades in here too. I do like this palette. I think that it is really nice quality. I like a lot of the Pure eyeshadow palettes, but this palette I'm not reaching into as much, and I've been really trying to, with my eyeshadow palette collection, to have smaller palettes in there that have more of a color theme, like the 9-pan palettes that I was just showing. In my affordable declutter, I did declutter quite a few palettes that are really large, and I think with this one, I know I have some other larger palettes that I am going to be keeping around. This one I'm just not reaching into as much, and I can totally see my girlfriends, you know, being super excited to get something like this. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put that one in the pass pile. Alrighty, so next up we have some of the Love Your Selfies in here. So this is the Pure Celebrate Your Selfie, and it looks like this was their like Sweet 16, so you kind of got the 1 and the 6 here. This is a really nice palette. I really like the shadows in here. I think they perform great. I like these nice glitters, and then you can actually pull it out and you have a blush and highlight, and those are beautiful. And if you pull out the other side, you have lashes, mascara, and then also a lip gloss, which I think is awesome. This is just not something that I want to keep in my collection though. It's, you know, obviously very bulky. It's harder for me to store, and that's just, I don't know, that's just a part to me that I don't love. So even though I did use the shadows out of here, and you know, the blushes and the highlight, I think that I can still pass this along to someone because they're going to get a mascara that was never opened, a lip gloss that was never opened, and obviously lashes that were never worn. So nice palette. It's just not practical for my collection. And then we also have the Love Your Selfie 3. So this is a newer from Pure. So I liked that this one was, you know, more sleek and more compact. You still have eyeshadows, you have glitters, and then you also have a bronzer, blush, and highlight. And then the set also did come with a few extras, like I think a mascara was in there, but it's not actually in here, you know, it just came off to the side. I'm going to go ahead and keep this one. This is newer to my collection as well, and I really like the majority of you know, different products that we have in here, and I like that it's just smaller. It's going to be easier for me to store, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this one. And then lastly from here we have the Grinch palette. So again, just the packaging that is just harder for me to work with. Inside, kind of the same thing. You have your eyeshadows, you have glitters, a blush, a highlight, and a color changing lip balm. I'm going to put this in the pass pile and see who I could, you know, send this on to, because again, it's just not super practical for my collection. I did like it, but especially since I'm going to keep the Love Your Selfie 3 and I have face and eye shades and glitters in there, I think that I can go ahead and pass this one along. Okay, so next up I have some Anastasia palettes. So this one here is the Modern Renaissance. Now I really like a lot of Anastasia's palettes. I just did a top 5, bottom 5 on the Anastasia brand, and I mentioned the 3 eyeshadow palettes in my collection, so of course I'm going to be keeping these. I just enjoy them so much. The Modern Renaissance was, you know, the one that kind of kicked everything off for me, but then also the Soft Glam. Such a beautiful palette. This one is pretty dirty looking as well, which is crazy for me because I'm super light-handed, but love my Soft Glam. And then most recently I have Norvina in here, and I think that this is a beautiful palette as well. I did also recently get the Sultry palette. I have not reviewed that yet on my channel. I'm still testing that one out, but I have been really enjoying that one as well. Okay, I have some palettes here from Colored Raine. So this one is the Berry Cute palette. So inside we have 6 different shades. And I think that I'm actually going to go ahead and declutter this one. Even though it's a smaller palette, I just do not reach for this a lot. And I just don't feel super inspired by the palette, which is kind of a bummer. But I'm going to go ahead and put that one in the pass pile. And then the other one that I have from Colored Raine is the Queen of Hearts palette. This one I do like. It's not like an absolute favorite of mine, but I still do want to keep it. I would like to be able to keep something from Colored Raine. And I just feel more inspired from this palette than I do with the smaller palette, which is a little bit surprising, but I think this is really beautiful. I mean, it definitely does give me a bit of the Modern Renaissance vibes, but I do want to go ahead and keep this one. So putting that in the keep pile. All right, I have one here from Natasha Denona. This is the Mini Sunset palette. So we have the 5 different shades in here, and I do like this palette. I think this one got a lot of like not great reviews on it, and I liked it just fine. It did not convince me to go buy a large Natasha Denona palette, and I know people say that the formula is different between the small palettes and the larger palettes, and I think that's dumb, because if I would have bought this and absolutely loved it, then I probably would go buy a Natasha palette. But even though people are saying, you know, it's a different formula, I don't care, because this did not convince me. I like it, and for the $25, like, yes, sure, but you know, that's kind of is what it is. But I'm going to go ahead and keep this one as well. Again, it's my only Natasha palette that I have in my collection. And like I said, I do like it. I didn't mind it. Okay, so next up we have Lorac. Now, these Lorac palettes have stayed with me for so long because I just have memories attached to them and all of that. And the packaging is super cute. And oh man, that's where we're at right now. So this one is the palette that they did in collaboration with Pirates of the Caribbean. I think I'm finally going to go ahead and pass this one on. I think that it's time. I've had it in my collection for a very long time. I did really enjoy it when I first got it, and I felt like it kind of helped me get out of my comfort zone a bit, but it's been in here for a while. You know, it's obviously the bulkier palette and all of that, but I think it's time to say goodbye. Even though it's so hard to do. Goodbyes are so hard. Okay, and then also from Lorac we have the Beauty and the Beast palette, and again, it's kind of the same thing, you know. I love the packaging on it. I love Beauty and the Beast. I do really like the colors in here. This isn't a favorite palette of mine, but between the two, this is the one that I do want to keep, and I would like to keep Lorac in my collection as well. I know that's like a total YouTuber thing, or maybe it's not even a YouTuber thing. You know, maybe you like to do that as well, even if you're not a blogger, but I do want to go ahead and, I can't, it's not time, okay? It was time for the Pirates. It's not time for Belle. All right? All right. Okay, so I have this one here from Becca. This is the Volcano Goddess palette. Now, I just featured this in my, I believe it was my November makeup monthly, and I actually put it in the favorite section. I was so surprised at how much I enjoyed this eyeshadow palette. I'm definitely going to go ahead and keep that one, and it is a bit newer in my collection as well. Okay, so I have 3 here from Tarte. So first up, I have the Styled by Harouche palette. This, if you guys have been with my channel for a long time, you knew my love for this palette. And it's so funny because this was even way back in the day, and I loved a 6-pan palette with also a face shade. Like, I mean, that's just who I am right now. So that's kind of funny to think about. I got a lot of use out of this palette. I recommended it a ton. I really enjoyed it, but I have had it for a very long time and I don't reach for it as much anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and put that one in the pass pile. But man, did I like that palette. All right, next up we have the Tartelette in Bloom. I think I put this one in my palettes on the chopping block. I want to say that this one was featured in there. And it's because I just don't, I just don't reach for it a ton. You know, I got some fairly decent use out of it when I first bought it, but it truly wasn't a palette that I felt like absolutely blew me away. I think this went in like a YouTube made me buy it video as well because so many people were recommending it and I liked it, but I never really got that kind of hype over it. And I always kept it around because I felt kind of guilty for decluttering it, but I think it's time. I'm going to go ahead and pass her along to a better home. And then I also have the Tarte Graveyard Girl Swamp Queen palette, which looks like this. So we have eyeshadows in here and then also some face shades. I've been keeping this one around for a while too because I like those eye shades in there and I do like that we have the face shades. But I think I'm just going to go ahead and declutter it out of my collection. I haven't been super on the Tarte train. You know, I've mentioned that in past videos as well. So I just haven't been totally loving them and I just don't reach for this one as much as I think that I could. And I think someone else would probably get a lot of joy out of having this one because I don't believe it's available anymore. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that one in the declutter pile. Alrighty, so we are making some headway. Okay, so I want to talk about all these little palettes here from MAC and Patrick Starr. So Patrick Starr did like a year-long collaboration with MAC, and I did receive quite a few of the palettes in PR, which was, you know, super exciting for me. These two came in like one of the first ones, and I really did like these palettes. I want to keep one, but I don't feel like I need both. This one here is Goal Getter, and then we have Glam AF. I believe is the name of that one, and I do like both of these, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and keep this one because I feel like I'd get a little bit more use out of it, and then I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to a friend. And here is the Heat Stroke palette, and this one was a bit disappointing for me. I remember getting it and just being really excited for it, and I didn't feel like the shades did a whole lot for me, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that one in the declutter pile. This next one here is the Sugar Mama palette. This is definitely, you know, a darker palette, and again, I just don't think I'm going to get a lot of use out of this one, so I'm also going to go ahead and put that one in the pass pile. And then the other one here, oh man, I am getting rid of quite a few of these, but this one had the pops of color in there with the pink and the blue. Again, it was pretty, but I'm just not going to reach into these. 4-pan palettes I don't reach into as much. Like 9 is really kind of my sweet spot with palettes. 4 is just a little not enough for me. But I'm going to go ahead and also put that one in the pass pile. Alright, so I have a couple from the Balm. This one is the Nude Dude Volume 2 eyeshadow palette. So really cute palette, super funny packaging, very neutral. I've tried it a couple times and I do like it. I don't mind the formula at all, but I don't feel myself reaching into this one. I don't see myself reaching into this one a whole ton. And again, I just think someone else can give this one a better home. So I'm going to put that in the pass pile. But this one here is the Meet Match Shmaker. And I've said really good things about this palette. I really enjoyed it. I like the layout of it. I thought that was super cute. And I've just created some really fun looks with this one. So I do want to go ahead and keep this one from the Balm. I have this one here from Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Stars in Your Eyes eyeshadow palette. I did review this fairly recently on my channel, and I said that I did like it. If you are a luxury makeup fan, I think that you would like this one and you wouldn't mind the, I think it's a $75 price tag. If luxury makeup is not your thing, or you know, if that's too much to spend on an eyeshadow palette, I don't think that you're missing out, or like you have to run out, you know, and, you know, work an extra job or something to get this one, because I do like it and I am going to keep it in my collection. But that was kind of like a brief review of my overall review of this palette, so I'm going to go ahead and hang on to this one for myself. I also have from Estee Lauder, this is the Goddess Glow eyeshadow palette. So inside you have 8 different shades. I actually really enjoyed this eyeshadow palette. I was surprised because I didn't think I would love it as much as I did, especially for, I think once like springtime comes around again, which seems so far away, I think I'm going to be grabbing into this one a lot more. But I love the rosy tones, I love the gold tones, and I thought the eyeshadows were really nice, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that one. Alrighty, so we have the Kat Von D palettes. Oh, boo. Oh, Kat Von D, what are you doing to all of us? Alright, so we have the Saint and Sinner eyeshadow palette. This one was gifted to me from my friend Liv, which I was so excited about. And inside we got these shades going on, if we can see that here. I was so excited about this palette, and I really did quite enjoy it, but I think I am just going to go ahead and put it in the pass pile. Hopefully someone else can love this one more than I can, because I feel like I'm just, I mean, even before everything happened, I wasn't reaching into it a ton anymore, but I just don't see myself reaching into it a whole lot. You know, the packaging is a little bit different, a little bit harder to store and all of that, but I'm going to go ahead and put that in the declutter pile. And then I also have the Shade and Light eye palette. This is a palette that I have had for a very long time. This was one of my first, like, more higher end, YouTube made me buy it, eyeshadow palettes, because so many people were raving about this one. And I did like it, and I did get a lot of use out of it. There's a lot of, you know, fingerprint marks in there from when, or fingernail marks for when I nailed up the palette, but I've had it for a while. I got my money's worth out of it, and I don't feel so bad decluttering it, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in the pass pile as well. Okay, so I have from Dominique Cosmetics, this is the Latte palette. So Dominique Cosmetics is the brand that was started by Chris and Dominique. I just got her Berries and Cute eyeshadow palette. I did a tutorial with it, like a Sephora try and haul. I can link it down below. So far, so good with that palette. This one is the Latte palette, and I really like this one. I was talking about how I actually took this with me on my trip to Alabama to see my family over Thanksgiving. This was the only palette that I wore, and I was just so super happy with it. I think that it's really nice. I like the quality, and that's why I went on to purchase another palette from the brand, so I will be keeping that one. Oh my gosh, I feel like I did not do as well as I thought I would, but we still got some more. Okay, get it together, girl. These two here are from Persona Cosmetics. This was started by Simply Sona. So we have, this was actually the first brand release here, and this is the Identity palette. It's a really beautiful eyeshadow palette, you know, very neutral, but still really nice. The shimmers are really nice in here too. So I'm going to go ahead and hold on to this one. And this is the newer palette. This is the 5-pan palette that came in the Pink Theory eye kit with the eyeliner and also the brush. Very nice palette. I reviewed this recently on my channel and said I was very impressed with it. So I am going to be holding on to that one. I think I'm going to leave Urban Decay for the end since we do have so many here. But next up, I will talk about these Stelazzi palettes. I have talked about these quite a bit on my channel. I recommended Stelazzi in the 9 brands I think you should try in 2019 video, and I have been very impressed with these. This is the Spellbound palette. Very beautiful, you know, got some more colorful shades in here. Such a nice formula in these eyeshadow palettes. I have been so impressed, but I also really enjoyed the Stellar palette, which is more cool toned, and not a palette that I thought that I would be attracted to, but I really had such a good time with this one. So I'm definitely going to be keeping both of the Stelazzi palettes. This one is from Black Moon Cosmetics. This is the Orb of Light eyeshadow palette. So this is what the inside looks like. A very nice palette. I did get this one gifted to me as well, and I think that it's a really nice palette. I do like the shades in there. I'm trying to think of how often I'm going to be reaching into this palette, and even though it's been fall time and I like these colors, oh my gosh, I'm kind of debating on this one, because I just feel like I don't reach into it a lot. And I'm kind of looking at my 2 piles, and I really wanted to at least do like more half and half, if not declutter more, especially with the move coming up. I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. Oh, that's hard for me to do, but I think it's the right decision. I cannot remember the last time that I reached into that palette, so I think that's the right thing to do. Whew, declutters. They can be getting hard, y'all. Okay, so next up I have these palettes here from Violet Voss. So this one here is the Flamingo palette. This one is one of their more recent releases that they came out with. So it looks like this. So it's a very bright and colorful eyeshadow palette. I really like this one. I liked the majority of the looks that I did with it. I didn't have a lot of issues with it. I thought that it was really pretty. I can definitely see myself wearing this more in like the spring, summertime and all of that, but I like this one. So I'm going to go ahead and keep it. And then we also have, okay, so this one is the Hashtag palette. Now, the Hashtag palette I actually didn't get as much use out of as I thought that I would, which surprised me. I really thought that I would love this palette, but I don't know, I reviewed it on my channel and I said how surprised I was that I didn't love this one more. So I think I'm actually going to go ahead and put that one in the declutter pile. But the Holy Grail palette from Violet Voss is a favorite palette of mine. It's bigger and I know that, but still I just think it is so, so nice. And it was a reason why I wanted the Hashtag palette so bad, because I thought that I would enjoy it. It had more colors in there, but this one is still just one of my favorite palettes. So definitely going to be hanging on to this one. And then next up, we just have the Urban Decay palettes. So I have quite a few here from Urban Decay to go through. So the Born to Run palette, one of the newer palettes from Urban Decay. This is a beautiful palette. I, again, have talked about this a lot on my channel, really raved about it. I love it. I know it's a bigger palette, but I don't care. I'm still going to keep it because I think that it is fabulous. Okay, we have this one here from Kristen Leanne. So this is just a little 5-pan palette with a brush and a mirror. This is the Daydream palette, I believe this one was called. Yes, the Daydream palette. And I do think it's nice. I think it's nice quality, but I just don't reach for it enough to justify keeping it in my collection. So I'm going to declutter that one. And then also from the Kristen Leanne collection, we had, this one was called the Kaleidoscope palette. So you have some more of these colorful shades in there. These shades are really cool, like almost kind of, I don't know, like duochromish. They were neat. But again, I don't see myself reaching into this palette a ton, so I think there's going to be people who can get really cool looks out of this palette, so I'm going to put that one in the declutter pile. I also have the little Aphrodisiac eyeshadow palette, so this is just like a little mini palette with 6 different shades. Again, I like this palette. I think that it's nice, I think that it's pretty, and that it performs well, but I mean, I can't keep every eyeshadow palette that's pretty and performs well. It's just, you know, silly to do, and I think that I'm going to go ahead and pass this on to someone who can give it a better home. And the last handful of palettes, this one here is the Naked Cherry. I again just reviewed this recently on my channel and I said that I quite liked it. This is a very me palette, a lot of tones in here that I really enjoy, and it's newer to me, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this one. I have the Back Talk palette, so this is the palette that has face shades in here and also eye shades. This palette was not very well received, and I felt like I was one of the only few that actually did like it. I love that it came with face shades. I think maybe if it was just an eyeshadow palette, maybe I wouldn't have been as hyped, but again, I really like this color scheme, and the actual palette and layout with the mirror and everything, that's not the easiest thing, but I did like this palette, but it is, you know, pretty similar to the Naked Cherry, which I'm going to keep, so I'm actually going to go ahead and declutter the Back Talk. Then I have the original Naked Cherry. I am going to go ahead and keep this one, or the original Naked palette, sorry. I am going to go ahead and keep this one. This palette has been discontinued, so I do want to keep this one in my collection. And then we have these holiday palettes. Now, this is the one from last year, and this is the one from this year. I actually like the one from last year more. You know, packaging is a little bit difficult here. It's an all shimmer palette, and I never expected to really enjoy this one, but I actually really do. I think I'm going to keep this one over the Elements palette, which again, this was the this year holiday release. It's a nice palette. I like it, but it wasn't anything that I was so excited about, and I'm a little bit surprised that I'm going to declare this one over the other because this one does have mattes in here as well, and I don't know, it was just a personal preference of mine. I liked it, and I think it's a nice palette, and I think someone else is going to get more love from it. So that was going to go in the declutter pile, and that is it. So let me pull everything out and see how we did. So after dividing it up, this is what my keep pile is looking like, and then this is what my declutter pile is looking like, and I had 38 kept and 29 that I was going to declutter. That wasn't quite as good as I was hoping I would do, so I was kind of looking over my keep pile and I was like, what in here are you like really, you know, would you be okay with? There was really only one palette that I was like, you know what, I could, you know, give this one up, and that is the Pierce Troll palette. You know, I've had it for such a long time. I don't think it's available anymore, and I am keeping that other Pierre palette. So I'm going to go ahead and make a switch. I'm going to go ahead and put this one in the declutter pile. So I am keeping 37 eyeshadow palettes, which is still a lot. 37 eyeshadow palettes are staying in my collection, and then 30 eyeshadow palettes are going to go ahead and be decluttered. And I think that I will be happy with that. I think that that's pretty good. So that is going to wrap it up for today's high-end eyeshadow palette declutter. I really hope that you enjoyed seeing this video. Give this one a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. You can check out my declutter playlist down below in case you want to check out more of these. But other than that, if you guys did enjoy this video, I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up. I hope that you also consider subscribing before you go, and I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's video.